Good morning, India, and welcome to Ghana Short. Today, we are also welcoming those from P Gurus because Sree Iyer ji's had a do a trip, so he's not there. Otherwise, it would have been a joint podcast. But well, be that as it may. Uh, the question before us is very simple: is the Iran war another forever war of USA? Why did I touch this subject? Why did I take this subject? We know now that the Iran war is on for the past 6 months. Half a year has gone. But it didn't. Did it start now? No, it didn't. It started last year. Right? Remember that B2 bombing at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. So this is really a continuity of that whole story in some manner. And so you have to start examining. It's been 6 months and there's no end to this whole story. And what's interesting is there are reports coming out which suggest that, look, Iran is hedging everything. Iran is prepared to take the pain, hedge everything, and then get into a situation where Trump is over. 2 years later, they'll then do a deal with the successor government and maybe keep dragging this whole thing on till a wariness sets in the USA. And they're looking at dragging USA into one of these forever wars. So there are 2-3 things which I thought I must examine. First, what is this forever wars of USA? What are the character of that? Because if you look at it, USA has been the singular country in this world which has gone on to so many wars. No other country has fought so many wars as USA in the past century, ever since Second World War. That's the first thing. It's always at war with someone or the other, with hardly a break in between. After all, it was just 1921, USA left Afghanistan and is back here next door, some form. So this is one thing which is, there's a character about USA. The second thing, of course, is the Iran war and the Iran-US war has taken a character of its own that I've spoken of earlier. It is no more that, the dynamics of this war are different. An important characteristic of this war is that it wreaks destruction. There's nothing on ground happening. When I say there's no commitment of ground troops. So when there's no commitment of ground troops, and there's no death in USA, and I would say the affordable cost of whatever is happening to USA is well within what USA can handle. So the temptation to continue with this war is high. Please understand this. Unlike Vietnam or Afghanistan, where America committed boots to ground, in this war, USA is not committing boots to ground. So they have got lost about 14, 15 people. But that's okay. They can handle that. There are no body bags, nothing. So the temptation to continue is huge. And on the other hand, Iran is that intransigent adversary who says, look, it doesn't matter for me. For me, my radicalism and my Islamism and my ideology is more important. I don't mind losing people. I don't mind losing anything. I'll recover. So there's a strangeness of this war which will make it. Then there's an issue of animosity between Iran and USA. So there's a very, I wouldn't call it tragic, but it is very, to me, I don't know where to put my finger on, to be honest. I still not put my finger on, I'm talking of. I said, let me throw this into the audience. And see. is this a war in which USA is going to get committed for long? So let's look at the character of the forever wars. Then we'll look at the Iran story, Iran US story, and then we'll see what to do next. Okay, and where see this whole story is going. So the first thing is, let's analyze USA's forever wars, because you have to understand this before before you say what is this forever war about. See, one of the features of USA's forever wars is direct military involvement with no definitive end. All the wars, what is the end game? No one knows. Nothing has happened actually. They spent billions, thousands of lives lost, no lasting peace. Different wars have the same outcome. Okay, they've entered to fight threats as defined by them or as perceived by them. Well, which is natural for any country to enter a war into. And they've stayed there, and they've declared victory and all that. So I said, let's discuss this in a little more detail. Right? Let's discuss this in a little more detail, because I think we have to start discussing this war in different dimensions. So we'll go back in time and discuss first Korea. Korean War lasted 3 years. 3 years. It started as a war between Soviet-backed North Korea and US-backed South Korea. The South Koreans were hardly at this thing. It was basically US Army. And ended up as a fight between China and USA. Okay. Why did USA go there? I put it here. Have a look at this slide graphic. They went to stop North Korean aggression and contain communism. Mind you, ideology. You'll see this business of ideology coming back again and again and again and again. Okay. They wanted to contain communism lest the whole of Asia is lost to USA. What is the outcome? 3 years, whole lot of people died. After 3 years, they came to an armistice. Really speaking, the war is still on. Not a peace treaty. And US troops have remained there for decades. For decades, they were on the 38th parallel. And even now, there's a full division of US troops sitting in Seoul and Korea. Nearly 36,000 people died in that war. Okay, and US committed 1.8 million troops at that point of time. Huge by all standards. And what's interesting is, where the war started? From north to south, the Koreans pushed the American troops right down to the bottom of the Korean peninsula. Then the Americans pushed them back right up to the river Yalu. Then the communist PLA pushed them back to 38th parallel. It just finished where it started. And ever since then, the outcome is 2 Koreas. A nuclear pariah like North Korea and a prosperous South Korea. And a complete division in that area. What did USA achieve? Okay. Then came Vietnam, 65 to 75. And everyone thinks, Americans didn't parachute into Vietnam. Interestingly, let me tell you this. The French were there before that. The French, Vietnam was a French colony. Ho Chi Minh, fought against the French. You read the battle of Dien Bien Phu. I mean, most of you won't know what is this battle about. I read this first time when I was in the Indian Military Academy. I did a presentation to the Indian Military Academy on the Battle of Dien Bien Phu. A very funny battle in which, the French created a base in the middle of nowhere, which was not connected by road and only through air. They airdropped a battalion, it later to a brigade and then a division, and with the division was being maintained by road, by air only. And they said, with that, we will carry out, we'll control the area around. Well, it didn't work. Ultimately, Ho Chi Minh, through the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which is famous. Maybe one of these days I'll do that as a battle history. Use cycles to, for logistics, and they pushed back and kicked the French out of Dien Bien Phu. That's a huge battle. It will take me an hour to explain that. One of these days I will. But more importantly, after the Dien Bien Phu, Battle of Dien Bien Phu, the French had to quit Vietnam. When the French were quitting Vietnam, the Americans stepped in. 1965. Again, this was after 3 years of war in Korea. They went in, to spread communism in this part of the world, Southeast Asia. I mean, this is an interesting thing. And then the Ho Chi Minh Trail was re-energized, and they had to fight General 𝗏𝗏. Yesterday I spoke about him. Now, you just think this, and this is the aside, but a very interesting thing. This General 𝗏𝗏, he's written books. He written a book, very simple book. If you read it, you'll say, "Yeah, ye isme kya hai?" But you have to read it 10 times to understand what he's writing. Very simple. He's one general who defeated the French, a superpower at that time. He defeated the Americans, definitely a superpower, and he defeated the Chinese. The last battle he, orchestrated was against the Chinese, 79 battle. That I think he was by then a defense minister or the chief of defense staff type. And 𝗏𝗏, in fact, came to India sometime. He's defeated 3 superpowers of their time. Anyway, notwithstanding that, I'll get back. So, a situation of North Vietnam, South Vietnam was there. Right? South Vietnam was being Syngman Rhee. No, Syngman Rhee was Korea. Right? I'm forgetting who was that guy who was in Saigon. So, which is now called Ho Chi Minh City, if I'm not mistaken. So the South Vietnamese versus North Vietnamese based out of Hanoi, and Ho Chi Minh was the president by then. And then Ho Chi Minh Trail got re-energized, and ultimately America had to leave that place, right? Why? So they went again. There's a ideological story behind this. What was the outcome? There was a military defeat. One case of a clear military defeat. The Vietnamese defeated the Americans. You look at the Tet offensives and you look at everything. Communists won. Finally, there was no political settlement with honor. South Vietnam and North Vietnam existed as different countries for a long time till they merged. Again, commitment of 7 million troops in USA. US commitment of 7 million troops. They lost 58,000 people to achieve nothing, to achieve a defeat. In fact, the American forces had to do a lot of introspection. You read that book called Crisis and Command. tells you how poorly the American forces were led. There's something called fragging, where uh, you know uh, their own soldiers shot their own officers behind their backs. So you see this uh, ghastly thing, happening. 10 years. Now you look at the continuum. 53 to 65, 12 years they didn't fight a war, then they started. Continued for 10 years. Okay. Then 75, that is 75. Then comes the next phase of their forever war, 1990-91 Gulf War. Why did they go? To expel Iraq from Kuwait, because Saddam Hussein took over the oil fields of Kuwait. And they wanted to restore the sovereignty of Kuwait. Honorable. What happened? Iran weakened, but the regime remained. Saddam remained. Sanctions or no sanctions, he continued with this thing. How many US troops were put in? 697,000. Or 6 lakhs, 97, nearly 7 lakhs. And 383 people were killed. The only thing was the technological edge which USA had by this time ensured that the body bags were low. But the Gulf War I didn't get peace. That's the thing. Gulf War I didn't get peace. It brought more turmoil in the Middle East. Okay, Afghanistan, 2001 to 2021. And if you look at it, 91, of course, they came out, they restored everything. So 10 years later, this happens. Why did they go there? To destroy Al-Qaeda and topple the Taliban regime. Well known. But what happened between the Gulf War I and 2001 is to be understood. This is the time when Al-Qaeda came up, Osama bin Laden came up, anti-Americanism set in this part of the world. Anti-US sentiment flared. Mind you, Saddam Hussein didn't want Osama bin Laden or anywhere around. Okay. But that's a different story. I'll not get in there, but we'll stick to USA. Did they topple the Taliban regime? They toppled. Yeah, they toppled initially. Did they kill did they drive the Al-Qaeda out? Initially they did. What happened? For 20 years they were in Afghanistan only to put the Taliban regime back. They spent billions. Whatever they gained, they lost. They went into Afghanistan thinking they'll kill off the poppy cultivation and the heroin trade and all. When they left, it had doubled. They committed 2.5 million troops, right? And they suffered a lot of losses in this. Around 2,500 people. Again, they had to evacuate from Afghanistan in disgrace. And who was their ally in this? Pakistan. Okay. We'll come to Pakistan a little later. So you see this story. And then, of course, you have the next war, the Iraq War. The second phase of the Iraq War. Why did they do? I don't know. I don't know why they went. Till now, I don't know whether it was for revenge. You see, the first Iraq War was fought under, George Bush Sr. And the second one was fought under his son, George Bush Jr. right? So they went to remove Saddam because the senior Bush went. He went home. Then, of course, Clinton came and all that. And when George Bush Jr. came in, he said, I want to sort this Saddam out because Saddam was sticking a finger. So he went to Saddam. And that arch villain, Tony Blair, who surfaced all over again. Okay. The Brits, the eternal opportunists and the eternal chaos creators, the eternal colonists, they came out with a dossier of WMDs, which was fake. So, and they went into war. And they stayed in Iran. They stayed in Iraq till 2011, 2003 to 11. 8 years. What are the outcome? No WMDs were formed. The state collapsed. Till now, the Iraqi state has not revived itself. Saddam Hussein was effectively a wedge in the Shia belt from Iran to the Levant or the Lebanon, Syria, the whole thing. Everyone knew that Iraq had a Shia majority, and if Saddam goes, the Ba'ath Party goes. The Ba'ath Party was a transnational party, but I will not get into that. And the Ba'ath Party, to a large extent, was largely probably a left-wing system, but that's okay. We'll not get. But it had contained radicalism. It was against radicalism. It was a Sunni, minority, which controlled a Shia majority. So what happened? Saddam Hussein was taken out, hung in this time. They occupied. ISIS came up. ISIS rose from the late Iraq army and continued there till now. And now that Iraq, they have quit Iraq, there are a whole lot of militias sitting there who are working against USA. What have they gained? In fact, at the end of the Iraq war, Iran started growing. Their reach to Hezbollah improved, their reach to Hamas improved, their reach to Houthis improved. The militias in Iraq itself, they started supporting. Outcomes, poor. Syria, they went, toppled Bashar al-Assad, threw him out, they brought HTS and that chap al-Jolani, who's the head, who was earlier an Al-Qaeda operator. Now he is a terrorist in suit and boot, who was feted in the White House. Why did he go there? Why has USA entered Syria? Look, this is ongoing. Syria is ongoing today. Don't think the deal is done. If US doesn't support al-Jolani and HTS, they're gone. Syria will go back into all kinds of things. Yeah, ISIS was reduced, the territory is reduced, but they're still active. Yeah, the conflict continues. This is an ongoing conflict. And about 100 odd people of theirs are being killed in terms of mercenaries and things like that. So you see, these forever wars have not stopped. Then some way or the other, and you see the commitment in this ring around Middle East, West Asia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and now Iran. So like I said earlier, direct military involvement, no end, no outcomes. Right? They entered to fight a particular threat, which never they achieved, and stayed through instability. Okay. They spent billions. They kept propping up all kinds of authoritarian regimes, including dining and wining with the stupid dictator next door, Asim Munir. right? All different wars, the outcomes have been the same. Outcomes have been the same. Overall, they've lost over a lakh people, all wars put together. $8 trillion. Mind you, the amount of money which they spend there, if you look at it today's value, it will be a hell of a lot. Okay, adjusted for time, man, it's huge. And there's a pattern. There's a threat which emerges. There's a military intervention. Then they have to pay a long war, the cost of a long war. Instability continues there, and there's no definitive end. That look at this, it will go into this loop where nothing happens. These endless wars, and one war begets another. Okay, are we seeing the same thing in Iran? We are. Just think, we are. Now, you have to understand the difference between, the other wars and this war. And why do you have to understand this difference between what's happening in, between Iran and US and the other wars? There's a huge history of animosity between USA and Iran, which is not there in any other war. They didn't have a problem with Afghanistan before Osama bin Laden bombed the trade center. They didn't have a problem with Saddam Hussein before he entered Kuwait. If Saddam Hussein's biggest foolishness was entering Kuwait. If he had not, things would have been different. Okay. In fact, they were supporting Saddam Hussein against Iran at some point of time. They were. How they messed it up is a different story, which I'll not get into today. So you see, one war has begotten another. This false thing. They, in many cases, they've created a threat which didn't exist. But that's not the case with Iran. That's not the case with Iran. With Iran, things are completely different. So I'll put a proposition to you now. When all these wars were going on, they had their problems with Iran. Never went away. In fact, I would say, after, especially, I didn't start thinking of this these days. I mean, earlier. These days, this thought is coming. I think the biggest forever war of USA is with Iran, not Vietnam, not Afghanistan, it is Iran. And this war will continue. This is my view. There's no end. Because Iran and US are like what India and Pakistan are. I mean, only difference, they don't have a common border. And they are virtually on the opposite ends of the planet. Other side of the planet. But their problems will never get solved. There's a history of animosity. So let's see this history of animosity. There's 45 years of mistrust, conflict, and geopolitical rivalry in this. So let's go back and trace this, why this has happened. Right? And again, I made this whole thing. Understand, 1953, CIA backed a coup. How? USA and UK, they overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh, who was a democratically elected PM. And they installed the Shah. Why? Because Mossadegh nationalized the oil companies. That was when the seeds of resentment between USA and Iran were sown. And you have to understand one more thing, which is a little away from, why this, I won't say away from the normal thinking, but this is the fruit of the normal thinking or the root of the problem. even when Mossadegh was around, or even before that were the last Shah's forefathers and everything, Iran was a Islamized country. The theological or the mullahs had a grip over this country, even under colonization. They were not huge, but they were there. Once oil came, oil came to the forefront and everything, the nature of Iran changed, which no one discusses, and it became more theological. The political construct of Iran was based more on theology, and the theological guys, these mullahs, which today no one talks of. And hence, there's a deep-rooted resentment amongst the people in Iran that the Americans imposed Shah on them. But they imposed Shah with a very heavy hand. Okay? And they supported the Shah throughout 60s and 70s. I'll make it bigger so that you can see this well. Yeah. Throughout the 60s and 70s. Right? But they were seen to be backing autocracy and inequality. That's what. And they felt that Shah was an Iranian US stooge. He was, till he said, I'll not become a stooge anymore. He started behaving independently. And when they became independently, of course, at that time, towards the end, he had cancer and all that, and he had to go out for treatment. They wanted to get the Shah out because the Shah had started collaborating with the Russians. Very interestingly, the 𝗤𝗏 plant, there's a nuclear plant. It was built by the Russians in the Shah's regime. At that time, of course, the Soviet Union. So they said this chap should go. So who was the alternative? I mean, this is the interesting part why I say this war will be a forever war. Who's the alternative? Ayatollah Khomeini. Not Khamenei. The original Ayatollah made the revolution. This fellow, for 8 years, he was shunted out. The Shah shunted him out. He went and sat in Iraq. Saddam Hussein bloody said, nahi yaar, I don't need this chap because he's creating a problem. And they shunted him out to France, of all people. France accepted him. He was there for about 5-6 months in France when they threw him out. Or rather, he was not thrown out. He was facilitated to go back to Iran by then and create the revolution. How did he go back? He went at the behest of France and USA. And France, if you see the French history, French socialism was very high. And they felt, and mind you, the communists and the socialists in France backed Khomeini to go back. And that was facilitated by USA. Because they wanted that guy out. This is their history. Okay. What did Khomeini do? That deep hatred for USA was there. And he brought this anti-American ideology to the fore. And then you see 79 to 81 was that US embassy hostage crisis. How many days? Oh, nearly 453 days. Okay. That is the time of this Iranian revolution. When you see a whole lot of chaps just massacred, thousands. But then again, I will have to do a show with Sandeep Punithan to make you understand the first revolution and the second revolution. There were waves of revolutions in Iran. And the anti-American ideology took root. And then there was this failed hostage, the failed rescue attempt. The US people did a a very complicated operation during Jimmy Carter's time, and it failed. Right? And then 1980 to 88, the Iran-Iraq war. Now, in the Iran-Iraq war, again, friend Saddam Hussein comes. US helped Iraq. It's very interesting. US helped Iraq by, that is Saddam Hussein. Same Saddam Hussein whom they later hung. The same Saddam Hussein they had to go in up during the First World War or during the First Gulf War for entering Kuwait. They provided him intelligence, weapons, and diplomatic support. Okay. And then from then on, Iran has always seen US as an active hostile power. And the US hostility to US has deepened in Iran. From then, of course, there was this also thing in between where Americans, US Army, there's a chap called Oliver North. He sold weapons to Iran to fund Nicaragua rebels. Okay, Oliver North. That was a scandal of its own. So if you see, the Americans have been fiddling with Iran. Iran doesn't like them. Same thing. And this spans from 1953 to, they've brought it to 88. I'll take it a little further now. Okay. What happened in 1990s? A whole lot of sanctions and confrontations. Why? Because by then, nuclear program had started. Through the Russians. Or there was a fag end. Then they had clashes. They had clashes in the Gulf. Now, interestingly, in this period, I'm going back a little. In this period of Khomeini, before pre-Khomeini, during the period of Shah, you find that Shah and Israel were good friends. They wanted a pipeline from Iran to Israel through the Red Sea. And that oil could go through the Gulf of Aqaba, Eilat, and cross Israel and Mediterranean and out. That was the idea. The same thing is being revived now against Iran in a different manner. That's the interesting part for those of you who don't know. Okay. So then, of course, so let's get ahead. 1990s, you find this story. Then there's a problem in 2000, the nuclear, all about nuclear. Now, in between this, around that time, something else happened, Camp David. During the Camp David agreement, the Sunni, till then, the Islamic world was fighting with Israel. And that fight was essentially between the Sunni world and Israel. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, right, Jordan, Syria. Though Syria was predominantly a Shia thing, they still came to theirs. It was Sunni-led. Egypt. That's the thing. The Sunnis were the more, offensive. Egypt was the militarized agent of USSR here. And people said Syria was the one which was peaceful. The Shias were supposed to be peaceful. Anyway, whatever happened, the Camp David, when peace took place between Israel and these people, the Egyptians, and certain things were to come to a close, who took over the entire mantle of the fight against Israel? Iran. After Ayatollah Khomeini was there, in fact, Khamenei, he said, no, you can't have peace between Israel and the Muslim world. I'll take it over. And that's how the Hezbollah comes in. takeover of Lebanon. That's how Syria is helped. And Bashar al-Assad, despite all what he did in Syria, was propped up by Iran. All this is simultaneous, mind you, these are all simultaneously acting. USA goes, destroys Iraq, they take over that. So you see that the mantle of anti-Israelism or anti-Semitism was taken over by Iran. Why? By then it had become theologically hardened. And Ayatollah Khamenei emerges as the pole of the Shia community worldwide. It's there. You can't ignore it. Okay. Then, of course, you have to come to the modern times. This nuclear issue and the nuclear talks, 𝗔𝗍𝗍𝗄𝗎 with Barack Obama. And now, again, Trump walks back on that. And then Trump comes back and, does all this. 2020 escalation continues and we are in a war. So you see this whole story in this manner. The animosity between USA and Iran is deep. The animosity between Israel and Iran is deep. Israel sees an existential threat to itself if Iran becomes nuclear. USA cannot do without Israel in this area. If Israel doesn't exist, all these Middle East people will throw USA out. There's no doubt. Already people are talking. Why do you think this Mecca thing is going on? And Israel is prepared to take any punishment. They're not even prepared to talk decently to the US chaps. And they know still Israel is around. So Iran, Israel, that will not go back. If that doesn't go back, US, Iran will also continue. So forget about the fact it's a forever war. There's a forever animosity. They can't reach a peace deal. And that animosity is very deep. And that's why I say it's a useless war for Iran, it's a useless war for USA. USA has upset a balance which existed, an uneasy balance. And Iran is that country which it is, their whole story is more based on Islamism, their version of Islamism. And the way they treat their people, it's their headache. As far as I'm concerned, they can kill their whole lot of people. How does it affect me? Okay. I'm talking of real interest. It does affect me as a human being, but I'm not talking now as a human being. In the accepted sense. I'm talking of a military analyst or a geopolitical analyst. So, you see, this animosity is beyond a deal. A deal might happen, but it will break because all deals between the two of them have broken. And there are problems with other countries here. USA, UAE, Saudis have a rift. Okay. Turkey is a guy who wants to be in bed with everyone. Useless. And once upon a time, it was, at the center of the Ottoman Empire, Constantinople and all that. Today, Turkey is nowhere there. It was the bridge between the Occidental and the Oriental. Now, no one needs that bridge. So, Turkey has lost its value, but it wants to regain it. And Turkey has come and, done a pact with Saudi Arabia, and they are fighting against each other in Libya. Yesterday, there was an oil depot which was hit. I don't know which force hit whom. That's a different story. We'll talk. Same Pakistan is, backing one faction with Saudi Arabia, and the other faction, Libya and Italy, are backing the old government in Libya. So you see this chaos of the other countries around the Middle East are going to fuel this crisis more. There's no settlement. What has happened at the way this war has gone? None of the Gulf countries are comfortable with what Iran has emerged as. Some people call Iran a power. I don't know if it's a power. It's a power. There's no doubt about it. Because it is impoverished. All their oil which they can pump out will still take them another 30, 40 years to get back to the levels they were before this war happened. But they'll make it another half a century. They couldn't care less because they're going to continue funding these Houthis and Hezbollahs and Iraq militias and continue this war. This war is going to continue. Okay. So let's get back to the history of the animosity. Have a look at it fully. Okay. There's an issue of nuclear program. There's an issue of regional rivalry. Sanctions, right? Military confrontations, which will continue. Cyber and intelligence war, human rights, ideology. There's a decades of betrayal, ideological conflict, geopolitical competition, all this. They are arch rivals. And then what's not there in this is the Chinese hand and the Russian hand. All of them have a problem with USA, and USA has a problem with China and Russia, which is playing out in Ukraine. And that war for the past 4 years has gone on. If that war is not settled, this war will not get settled. This also will go ding dong. That's my view. Okay. The US is finding itself in forever wars. What are the main motives for involvement? Countering shared adversaries, geopolitical stability, political and moral obligations, and what have you. This is it. But is that so? How will they keep spending? Of course, they're spending because it runs their military-industrial complex. They want to achieve geopolitical stability, but as far as the Ukraine war goes on, this will not stop, I've told you. And then, of course, they say political and moral obligations. America itself is a divided country over this Iran. Now, Iran didn't support, Iran didn't go and attack anyone. The only one Iran wanted to attack was Israel. And all this hinges on the nuclear story. Well, there are complications. If you look at the nuclear deal from what Obama died, that's also taken a 10-year life. So you think this will finish? I don't think so. Why do they persist? That's the next question. See, 60% of wars since 1945 have not had a formal ending. They just continued. They've continued and continued. USA in all cases had early leverage. Even in this case. Even in this case, they had the leverage when they went and hit. See, the leverage started last year. When they went and hit the nuclear sites. The leverage started in the beginning. They did a bombing and took out the leadership. They could have got back. But they went in for whatever they did. That's their choice. Right. The objectives have always been different. They've gone in with one objective, the objectives have stayed, and they had to continue. Why did they go to Afghanistan? They went to Afghanistan to fight the Al-Qaeda and Mullah Omar and all that, Taliban and all that. And then they went and started rebuilding that country without understanding what that culture is. And they had to vacate. Right? Then there's the issue of the partners. Today, if USA vacates that area, all the other guys, whether it's UAE, Saudi Arabia, they're two big ones, and the rest will be on a limb. They can't let them USA go. And if So till such time USA is there, Iran will be against them, and vice versa. If USA has to exist, it has to attack Iran. It will continue. What is the post-war planning in all these years? See, it's very funny. USA spent their lives, their billions of dollars to stop communism in South Korea and Vietnam. 2 wars they fought against the Chinese. And then they got into bed with the Chinese to make money. So USA's motivation at the end of the day is not ideology, friendship, and all that. Make money. First, they were fighting the communists. Now they're fighting the Islamists. That's it. Then the bureaucratic fragmentation within USA is huge. Towards the end, the Afghan war, the State Department and the military were at odds with each other. Complete odds with each other. And this was seen in Vietnam also earlier. I mean, I've not examined it in Korean War, but Vietnam definitely. Repeated in the Gulf War. Both. And they don't have the patience for diplomacy. Mr. Trump, he's got no patience for diplomacy. He's transactional. He's not strategic. You need strategic thinking to get to diplomacy and finish a war. Exit from a war is important. So you see, this war, it's a different war. It's different from all of previous wars. It's a war of today's age. And it is going to be an endless war. More weapons, more money, more years, same outcomes, endless wars. You know, earlier it was direct intervention. Today it is enable and equip allies. Especially in Ukraine, Venezuela. Same thing they're trying in other places. But here, even though they've done the direct intervention, they've taken Israel along, now they're supporting something, there's a hodgepodge. Are we getting to a place where this war is going to end? I don't think so. You might get to a deal. You might get some temporary peace. But this is a far longer forever war. You take the history of animosity between Iran and USA and project it into the future, I don't see peace. Unless there's a regime change. The regime change could happen in Iran, the regime change could happen in USA. Of course, the method of regime change will differ in both. In USA, democratically, Trump will be one day sent home after 2 years, fixed. After that, someone else has to come. That someone else might say, okay, enough is enough, we'll do a deal. Iran is probably waiting for that. In the meanwhile, Iran regime itself might go, because how long will they remain what they are? That could also happen. Whatever I'm saying could also not happen. The next president might be under political pressure to continue what Trump started. Because like I said, why is the Iran-US war taking a life of its own? It's taking a life of its own because it didn't start day before yesterday. It started in 1953. It is not finished. Please understand this. So, this is where I leave this thing. I'm leaving all of you with an open-ended story to see that this endless war will continue. USA might go into other wars, but this war will continue. I think it's the biggest endless war which USA has got into. It's not न्यू ईरान गेट, ऑलिवर नॉर्थ, तो उस वक्त भी तो था, ये अभी भी है. So I put it in the historical context today. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, do press the like button. I hope I made it, I've raised the level of your awareness of what's going on. And, right? And do subscribe to Ghana Shot and also join me as members. I'll take a few questions now. Okay. Thanks a lot, Tamil Hindu, for your contribution, and Geet Mohan also, and Vinayak Murthy. If Pak is on the brink, yet Abhijit Iyer Mitra says its vast informal economy will keep it alive. What lawful political means can my India use without stooping to drugs, militancy, or fake currency? We'll discuss this. This is a very important question, and I have to devote a full thing to it, because it is not that Pakistan will collapse due to economy. And look, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, for whatever thing, he's got his own viewpoint. I respect that and I leave it at that. That's it. The thing with Pakistan is different, and that's why I'm concentrating a lot on Pakistan. Pakistan as a concept is failing. It's not the economy. The concept of Pakistan is failing. So we'll examine the concept of Pakistan and why it's failing. And we'll start this failure and examination with Baluchistan and POK. Okay. We'll do this. I'm going to do it. So thanks for your contribution. But I'm a little more serious than what Mr. Abhijit Iyer Mitra has spoken, because I'm going to go into the depth. We will see by tomorrow morning or today evening. I don't know what to do, whether to handle Baluchistan, because Baluchistan, they have said today they're talking of independence of Baluchistan, declaration 11th. I thought, let me do that, or I'll touch J&K, which is going into insurgency. And what do we do? It poses difficult questions for us. It's not drugs, militancy, or fake currency. Something more. Him Sharma, thanks a lot for your contribution. So nice of you. And same lens of 𝗟𝗏𝗏. And yeah, thanks a lot, Texan Engineering. And again, lens of 𝗟𝗏𝗏 and Abhishek Hegde, thank you. And PLA said, thank you. And Vinayak, thanks for becoming a YouTube member. So let me take some questions which are come up. Best analysis of USA-India ties post-Op Sindoor, and makes more interesting why Iran-US you have to understand. Look, when I talk, I'm not going to talk of 𝗏𝗏𝗞𝗏, India great and India not great, and many of these channels which earlier I used to go. Then suddenly when I realized that all these chaps want to, they have a political angle and they don't look at it from a, fundamental analysis point of view. I started doing my analysis basic. So if you want to have a clear analysis of what's the real story and the connections with the rest, come to Ghana Shot, right? India is capable. I agree with you. We'll talk of this later. We shouldn't dismiss it, or we shouldn't talk of it very cursorily, because there are hard questions for India which we must answer, which we have never answered. We also have problems, incidentally. Iran is not supported India when Iran did not support India when matters most. Now USA also turning actively against India. How India should balance both? And look, you have to fend for yourself. You have to use each one of them when the time to your advantage. We'll talk of this also. Don't depend on any of these chaps. No one's going to help India. We have to help ourselves. There are no friends. Thanks a lot, Sundar Krishna, and for your contribution, right? So we have to help ourselves. We don't have to. Time is crucial for India. Vijay Kumar, I don't think time is crucial. You have to wait. You have to be patient. वक्त बदलता नहीं है, काल चलता रहता है. So be patient. One has to be patient and deal with things as they come. And like I say, my aim is armies don't fight. Armies preserve peace. If your army doesn't fight, you're good. If your army has to fight, you're lost it. And we have to invest in an army to ensure it doesn't fight. And that will help the poorest Indian to get sadak, bijli, pani, and roti, kapda, makan. 6 things which are the poorest Indian must get. The day he gets, India is a superpower. We would have achieved something beyond. How should India respond increasingly to hostile approach from USA? We'll look at it. Don't worry. I'll do a program on that separately. Some of your questions which you ask are one program worth which is coming ahead. Yeah. Neptune. The lesser you read, listen to Praveen Swami, the better you are. He's I don't know what. Anyway. Tinakaran Michael, good morning. Amitesh, good morning. You brought us to a stage where our morning looks incomplete without Ganashot. Thanks a lot. That's a great achievement if I've done that, but it's good for me. I also get oxygen from all of you. Right. Ashish, good morning. And Achintya, good morning. Very good and informative. Yeah, keep coming back, Johari. We'll do all this together. Taiwan preparation in full swing against Chinese. Yeah, they'll do. They have to prepare the small thing. It's asymmetric approach and chaotic, so endless. Subramaniam, humble pranam. Jitendra Thakur, pranam. Thanks. Trishul is deployed. Western Command tweets. Yeah, that's fine. Iran has enough terror proxies. 𝗢𝙧𝙤𝗪 one of the lone wolf attacks against US inside USA and Europe using these proxies, especially in USA where high-caliber weapons are easily sold. I don't think these proxies have this reach to go there. 𝗤𝗖𝗄𝗖𝗔 and all, they don't have. Okay, neither Hezbollah. They can do internal chaos there, not elsewhere. Siddharth Bhattacharya, good morning. Yeah. These slides are so detailed and relevant, it's like waking up to what is actually going on. Yes. These days I'm starting to get information out of AI. When you ask the right questions, the AI gives you the right answers. Then, of course, I modify it based on my own research and my knowledge. I throw in my knowledge and make some slides like this, and then when I speak, if you've seen, I highlight many things which are not there in the slides. That's how I do. Okay. The slides are to give you a reference. Battle of Dien Bien Phu. One of these days I'll cover it. It's a classic. Unlike most US wars, this seems to be a war where US is fighting alone. Yeah, that's there. That is, of course, there. That is there. We'll have to talk about guerrilla warfare making a difference. Whether I'll talk of this separately. Again, it's a full episode. Please do an analysis on Turkish protests and elections. Opponents of Erdogan have been arrested. Yeah, I'll do it, Vinay. The only problem is, time. I've read about Turkey and all that. I don't have time because I'm doing things which interest India. For that, I need someone else to do it. I'm thinking of it, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, best to ignore buffoons. I agree with you. Crisis in Command by Richard Gabriel. Very good book. I read this when I was a captain. Be it with Vietnam back then or Iran now, the military does not seem to does not seem to be bogged down due to loss of life of common people and continues to fight. Democratic countries don't think will do that. That's the thing about USA. The US system looks for profit. The US system seeks, unlike any other country, it seeks conflict. These days, they are prepared to accept body bags. But you see, the US system subsidizes their body bags. This is the interesting part. What I could make out after with all the interaction with the US people, the military and all, they recruit a lot of people from outside into their military. They use them, those who want to get citizenship, this, that, and all that. And virtually, some part of their military is mercenary. And they use that element to do all this. And they have enough people who operate mercenary armies from within. Okay. Good morning, sir. Small correction in yesterday's episode about Musharraf. He died in Dubai, not in Pakistan. Yeah, I think so. Okay, maybe. I don't remember. Yeah. Concur with General Shankar. The British are the worst traitors and always foment trouble across the world. The Russia and Ukraine war is due to Boris. Yeah. I completely agree with you. Forever wars and no off-ramping. Your forever war skipped the South African narco wars. Yeah, I did. I agree with you. That I have not brought into the thing. But I will, maybe, but it doesn't, not fitting into the context. I suspect the Brits may be involved with the Soros cabal. Definitely, if you don't have doubts about it. Will US apply crippling economic pain on Iranian people like they did on Cuba? Yeah. This is not going to end. Look, even sanctions have a life. After that, they have no value. Okay. Look at this fellow. Here in Pakistan, our analysis is that our self-propelled howitzers and stealth fighters coming in China from a military liberation, make a military liberation of Srinagar Valley by Pak Army inevitable in 20-25 years. Let me tell you something. You got those 250 self-propelled howitzers. I was a Director General of Artillery in the Indian Army. Okay, in my tenure, I started inducting 155 howitzers. Not these variety because we don't need them. We need them for somewhere else. We have made, and the number is 1,000. Okay, 4 times yours. And you are today at a stage where you're going to lose POK. Join me today evening or tomorrow. I'll show you how you're going to lose POK. Forget about Srinagar Valley. And you lose POK, we will be 36 kilometers outside Islamabad. I guarantee you that that's going to happen in 5 years. 5 years. Take it from me. In 5 years, POK will be part of India and we will be sitting on the border next to Islamabad. Worry for yourself. And I'm going to do this analysis and show it to you. You have killed enough people in POK. You're going to pay for it. Yeah, Syria is a proxy war with Iran. I agree with you. US uses oil money to buy US military. I agree. Why does US want to spread freedom and democracies in countries that have no interest? That's USA. That's the nature of USA. Money. USA is all about money, capitalism, money. And capitalism drives funny things. Will it be politically and military correct to state that USA has misguided policies? No, 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 no. They are very clear as what their policies are. Don't be. Okay, yeah. Oil cutoff has exposed vulnerability of Japan, whose currency has fallen. No, you coming up with some vague things out of this, out of syllabus. Mm. Mm. Iran will also trouble Pakistan. That's on the cards. That's going to happen. Baluchistan. Please turn off ads during live show. Sorry, it's beyond me. Right? It's beyond me. It is the YouTube. You have to this thing. Okay. If I turn off ads and I don't get revenue, I can't run this channel. Sorry. I can't do that. I have no resources. And I'm not a big guy. I'm not a chap who got a studio and all that. Sorry. I am what shall I say? Old man startup. This is a startup of an old man. I did this YouTube startup. When did I do? 3 years back. I did it more for fun. So what little money I get, I have to pay subscriptions. I have to, for many things, I have to pay subscriptions for what all I read. I have to pay subscription for, the live streaming and whole lot of things. Then I told you I support kids. I have to pay them. I have to pay their my eldest kid, not my own, whom I support has gone to college. So fees have tripled. So I can't clip. I can't stop ads. It's not for me, incidentally. I am happy that Iran didn't become Iraq and is stable. We don't know. We don't know where it's going. Yeah. Jai Shri Ram. Okay. Right. One does not understand the animosity of Americans to the Russians. Oh, well, that's a different story. That's a different story. Please understand, in this world, there are only two countries which are completely self-sufficient. One is USA, the second is Russia. They are self-sufficient for technology, they are self-sufficient for, uh, resources, and they're self-sufficient for size, everything. Only two self-sufficient countries, not even China. What they're not self-sufficient is for population. America has an immigration policy which gets everyone in. Russia, the day they start have an immigration policy which, and they change their system of governance, they'll come back. But that's a way off. So the animosity. They know each other. Yeah, good morning, Kiran. Joining late. That's okay. Better late than never. US Iran fought well. USA looking for off rank. I agree with you. How should India handle the hostile USA? We'll talk of it. We'll talk of India-US relations sometime this week. I'll do my own because I don't want anyone else to come and talk unnecessarily. Yeah. Really enjoy your insights. Can there be a possible face-saving formula for Trump? I don't know. USA, like I said, there's a character of this own. This character of this war is defined by their long-term animosity, and Trump doesn't understand all that. Trump doesn't understand history. Okay, I think I've done. My comment was not a military one. I mean, we should not give in to US pressure. That I agree with. We have never done it. We have never done it. One of the fundamentals of India-US relationship, we've always been on the opposite sides of the fence, except for the past 20 years, historically. And now, again, we are probably not on the opposite sides of the fence, but we are not on the same page. Yeah, becoming addicted to your daily dose twice a day. Thanks a lot. Come and enjoy, because I also believe in, a lot of people. Let me give you something. A lot of people tell me, sir, you should finish your thing in about 30 minutes or 40 minutes and finish off, and don't take questions, and record a thing and push it out and all that. And that way you'll make more money, you'll get more viewership. Maybe. But I'm not in it for that. I'm in it to interact with people, get your views. I see the views. Even when someone says against me, I get the views, because then I can communicate something back. And what's the point of your watching all these people? You can't, even if your thing doesn't get shown. That's insensitive, isn't it? So this is more of a interactive thing between me and all of you. Unfortunately, I can't see you face to face, but that's okay. That's at least you can see me and I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to economies. I'm not talking to bloody pigs or something like that. I'm talking to human beings who I see are reacting, even if they are not of my ideology. Yeah, I agree with you. Maria Neufall lost credibility for me when he started getting. Look, that fellow is a free agent. He'll do what he wants, so don't get it here. Yeah, it's 11:30 p.m. in Dallas, sir, but I love recommending your channel to friends. Watching your videos makes my day. You and three generals, P gurus. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I've decided that I'm going to get younger people in. Look, at 70, I'm hitting 70 now. I'm old. My ideas are old. I might be experienced, but I need fresh blood. So that's why yesterday I started with two young guys, the guys whom I trained earlier in professional life. And I know they're good. I have to give them, some help. They'll mature. In a couple of years, you'll see them rocking in media, I'm sure. Yeah, minority is an individual and need to ensure has full rights to enable to lead a comfortable life. India growth is to focus on improving this minority for education, health and safety. I agree with you. You think we have won war in JNK, or it still can come back? It will never come back. That's over. I'll talk of it today evening. Does India have secured its energy dependencies in this few months of war? Yes, we have. We have largely, but we have to be agile. US defense stocks are doing well, and many congressmen are invested in these defense stocks, and that is why, both I complete reach 𝗟𝗲𝗍𝗫. Yeah, keep on going. We love you. Thanks a lot. Do a show on the Battle of Stalingrad. I will. Member for 9 months. Thank you. And Turks, South Africa pact, Pakistan pact, affect IMEC, Turk missile in Sudan. Yeah, I will talk of this. I did a thing on the Turkish thing in News 18. Maybe one of these days I'll do a in-depth discussion on this pact, this tripartite pact. Okay. Wonderful prediction about POK in the next 5 years. It's going to happen. You have to again see it in the backdrop of history. We'll talk of it. Don't worry. You could have included the Iran war also in the slide. It's the same extension. No? So we're talking of the current one. Yeah, General Dayal was excellent. He came across well spoken, and he knows. Yeah, he's also good. Even This chap Agarwal is good. They'll come. Agarwal is very knowledgeable about the Middle East. You'll see. Slowly these chaps will also flower out. Yeah. This is where I end today. In 5 years, near Islamabad is a bold statement. Maybe it'll take 10 years, but in 5 years, I don't see the situation improving in Pakistan in the next 2 years. If it doesn't improve, it can only go down. If it goes down, we'll be there. We'll talk of it. I'm going to discuss this, right? Because certain things have changed in that place which are irreversible. A lot of problem will be on our side, not their side. Okay, with this, thank you. Thanks all of you who come from P Gurus, who are on Facebook or otherwise, and who joined me from on my channel. Do join in the evening. I'm not decided what to speak of, whether Baluchistan or POJK, but then that I'll decide in the course of the day. Have a great day and Jai Hind to all of you.